All right. So good morning, everyone. Today we'll be touching base on
Good
Palo
morning.
Alto Firewall. Palo Alto Firewall is one of the leading products in the cybersecurity industry. It is considered the leader in the firewall market because it has the largest market share. So a lot of enterprises, companies, they use Palo Alto Firewall to protect their network. And as we all know, protection of network is to prevent unauthorized access and then malicious users. Because some people, they don't want to authorize the network, they just want to bring your network to their name. So with that, we introduce a box or an appliance to protect our network. So let me share, I will stop sharing. I will share let me share, what's it call it? Let me share the whiteboard so that we can use that one to uh, buttress our, our conversation. So I don't want to be asking what is firewall. We all know firewall. So firewall, it's majorly designed to protect network from unauthorized access or to mitigate intrusion. So, and then of in the as we speak, um, we have different type of firewall. We touched based on all that in our previous session, but we'll be majorly spending our time on NW, NGFW. We'll be spending our time on this. So Palo Alto Firewall, is presumed, or it is the company that bring this concept of next generation firewall. So when you mention next generation firewall in the marketplace, it is synonymous to Palo Alto. Though most of the vendors, they've copied the name now. Every vendor, they are now using these catchphrases. So next-gen firewall works from layer 3 to layer 7. Some people might argue that statement that it starts from layer 4. No. Even if you want to look at it deep dive, firewall start from layer 2 up to layer 7 because we have so many functionality of so many deployment scenario we can do from layer 2 up to layer 7. But invariably, we all look at it from layer 3 to layer 7. So Palo Alto Firewall is not different from any other firewall in the market in terms of um, firewall itself. But what separates Palo Alto Firewall in the marketplace, they are the major enhancements they have in terms of app ID, content ID, user ID, and then they have now they have device ID. So before we jump into that, uh, let me clear this one. So this is firewall. Let me draw a firewall here. Anytime you cannot hear me, let me know so that I can make myself clear or whatever. So this is firewall. This is our LAN. And then this is our WAN. So this is an example of a basic topology when it comes to firewall. And then we said that firewall is meant to protect our network. This is our own network, LAN. This is local area network. That's our own. So WAN is a public zone. It's a public zone. So it is depicted to be what? Untrusted. untrusted or untrust. And then this.
Is everyone see a black screen, or it's just me?
Oh, you are seeing a black screen?
Yeah, completely black.
Nothing.
Me too.
Oh, okay. Let me. But I'm writing something on it, but I don't know why it's not showing.
We can't see it at all. It's just black.
Okay, let me see. Okay. What about now? You can see one color. I wrote something on the board now.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
But I don't
Okay.
know. Okay.
I
Yeah.
was using a highlighter before, but it's not writing out. So okay, I'm using this Microsoft whiteboard. So they did not show the external marker on it. So I was using their own marker now. So this is what I was saying before. I draw a firewall at the center. So this is our firewall. So firewall is presumed to be the first line of defense. So this is our LAN. And then this is our WAN. So like I said, our LAN is trust. It's presumed to be trust. And then our WAN is known to be what? Untrust. So from the PaloAlto perspective, we look at these two segmentation to be zones. So PaloAlto firewall is a zone-based firewall. It is a zone-based firewall. And the PaloAlto firewall, it is known to be what? NG-HFW. It's a next generation firewall. What makes it a next generation firewall? I've mentioned 2 people entered the room waiting. Okay. Okay. So PaloAlto firewall, it is known to be a zone-based firewall. And then it is in the market, when you mention next generation firewall, our mind will go straight to PaloAlto because they are the one that coined the word. Another word that another company is called stateful firewall. That word stateful was coined by Checkpoint. Checkpoint coined the word stateful when they introduced their Gaia operation system. So before I will go deep dive, I don't want to spend my time explaining history of PaloAlto, how they come on board, how they get started, who owns it. We don't need all that. What we need is to know some of the functionalities, how to make use of it, how to deploy it, how to unbox it to our environment. So if you need more information on who owns it, when they started, just type it on Google. You get all that. So how we start, we talk about firewall. We know firewall because this is our second firewall with touching base. So I'll quickly talk about stateful inspection. So what is stateful inspection? A stateful inspection firewall, it has intelligence to keep a session. A stateful inspection, a stateful firewall has intelligence to keep a session on the session table. We all know when we talk about OSM model, there's a layer called session layer in layer 5. So the firewall works across those layers to keep the flow. In every firewall, in every flow, we only talk about 2 flows. If you look at this firewall, anytime there's a traffic initiated from, let's say we have a user here. This is a user. Let me remove some of this. We have a user here. And then it's connected to a LAN, and they initiate the traffic. When the traffic is initiated from a LAN user, and the traffic traverses the firewall to go to the one, which is our public zone, there will be a session on this session on the firewall that will give us visibility on what is going on. That is, there will be two flow. That is from the client to server. So when the server replies, maybe the connection established after three-way handshake is completed, we will see another flow coming from server back to the client. That will be, this one will be what? From server to client. So that is a stateful firewall. It is intelligent to keep session table. It has a reminder. I've used example of a Banza for our last discussion. So the firewall is capable. It has the capability of knowing what traverses the firewall and keep the session. The session helps the troubleshooter or the administrator to troubleshoot and then to have the visibility of what is going on in the environment. That is example of stateful firewall. If I want to go deep dive on that, we can go to our lab to, okay, let me go to back to my lab. This firewall, this is a PaloAlto firewall. For some of us doing it for the first time, we need to deploy a brand new one, but I have this one for today. I've already deployed it, so I will log into it, and then we see the session. We can initiate the traffic from any of these users to demonstrate or to paint more picture on the concept. So if you look at it very clearly, we see that we have zones. Like I said, PaloAlto firewall is known to be a zone-based firewall. That is, each of the interfaces or each of the interface is a must. Underline that must be attached to a zone. Unlike other firewalls, it is optional. Now we have firewall like we have checkpoints, we have Fortinet, we have Juniper, and we have other firewalls. They have zone 2, but it's optional. But in Palo, it's a must. Every interfaces must be attached to a zone. Every interface must be attached to a zone. And then quickly, each interface can only belong to one zone. I cannot put this interface, for example, in this internet 1/1 in trust zone, for example, and I still put it in a DMZ zone. It's not possible. So each interface belongs to one zone. That is noted. So PaloAlto, let me just give us brief before I log into the firewall. We unbox it, we do a demonstration how to do deploy PaloAlto out of the box. But this one is just very how some of the concept behind it. So PaloAlto, like other firewall, they have their own operation system called PANOS. POS. Let me just, those are very important information we need to understand. This PANOS, it is specific to PaloAlto. The operation system is owned by PaloAlto Networks. And the operation system behind this PANOS is Linux. It is Red Hat Linux. Red Hat, Linux. The only firewall we can compare with Palo Alto is Juniper. Even some, I don't know, maybe they have that in court or maybe they set you out of court because it's like Palo Alto copy Juniper back to back because most of the functionality in Juniper works in Palo, especially the commit. The commit command is in Juniper as well. And the Juniper has been operating before introduction of Palo Alto. And Juniper has user mode, which is this greater sign, and they have a configuration mode, which is this this hashtag. The same thing in Juniper, the same thing in Palo.
Yes, I wanted to say something about that. Juniper before was called Neststream before they changed their name to Juniper. And Nick Zhu, who started Palo Alto, used to work in Neststream before he moved to Checkpoint, before he founded Palo Alto. So I just wanted to chip that in, sir.
Yeah, yeah, you are right. But what I'm saying is this, the only firewall you can compare directly with Palo is Juniper. So, I don't want to say something that will be used against myself. I don't know much about it. Maybe copy from there or something transfer. But what we just need to know is nobody can bring something out of the blue. We learn from others. Maybe copy the idea learn the idea from them, and then initiate it, and then you redefine it in some own way. Because Palo Alto, they are unique on their own way, but there are some concepts that are very similar, very, very close. One of the concepts that are too close to those two firewall that I've mentioned is this user mode and then this command configuration mode. In Juniper, anytime you make a change, you must commit. You must run commit command. And in Palo Alto 2, anytime we make a change, we must use commit command. Unlike Fortinet, anytime we click OK in Fortinet, the configuration is already saved. So that's just that. So we know that Palo Alto has the operation system, which is called PanOS, and the operation system behind the PanOS is Linux Red Hat. So let's go to this device. Let me open it. Let's go to this device. The only way, we have different ways to access a firewall. I don't want to be repeating myself on some of the concepts we discussed before, but when we are talking about how to unbox the firewall, I will still touch base on it. But right now, I'll click on this firewall. I want to check the IP address. This is the prompt for some of us who are seeing the Palo Alto for the first time. It's a black screen?
Yes, sir. Seems.
I've shared the...
No, we didn't see anything, sir, for the past 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for updating that. Okay, I don't know. That's why I don't like using this Microsoft, what's it called? I've been sharing my lab for past 5 minutes. So anytime we don't see, maybe I won't use that.
We can see the lab though.
So this is what I was sharing. I've been talking for over 5 minutes now. So
everybody kept quiet.
So please.
I think it was when you are about to change it to this topology that is totally went blacker.
Okay. Someone will need to let me know that next time. So now, this is the Palo Alto firewall, and then I want to log into it. We shouldn't bother our mind for what I'm going to say now. We just need to pay attention to some of the concepts because we're going to talk It's based about all these zones, how this network is designed and all that. But we are just doing the initial introduction. And then one of the concepts we are discussing why I want to go to the firewall is stateful inspection, and the stateful firewall. Most of the time they ask that question in the interview. So what is stateful firewall? What is next generation firewall? And then we'll touch base about what makes PaloAlto a next generation firewall. There are some small concepts we will get used to as we move forward, like SP3. All those ones, we don't need to memorize them, but as we move forward, we will get used to it. And then I will touch base maybe tomorrow on some of the devices. I mean, the product line, like the VMs, like the hardware. We'll touch base about that, some of the capabilities they have and all that. So I want to log into this firewall to check the session, and then we'll see how it works. So this is the prompt. Anytime we log into CLI of PaloAlto, this is the prompt we always get. So, and then we shouldn't forget, this is a VM. We have different version of firewall. We have the software, and we have the hardware. Software has some limitation. Like when I said before, device ID. Device IDs, this service is not available in some of their firewalls. Especially some of the VM doesn't support it. So we should take note of that. So let's log into the firewall. I put in the username is admin. So the password is password at 123, if I get it right. Okay. It seems I even put the password somewhere here because I forgot it before. Okay. So if you look at it, the guy is telling me that number of failed attempts since last successful login. If I made mistake in my password and I could not access it immediately, this device is capable of logging the attempt. So we can run this command at this mode now. This mode we see now is called, this is the user mode. There are some commands to run here just to verify or to troubleshoot. But anytime we want to do anything like configuration, there's another command we need to run. But we won't do that now. But let's check the I want to check the IP of the device. So to do that, I'll run this command show system info. Okay, this is not correct. Oh, the system is not correct. System info. So that command, what it does is it will give us the configuration wise in our box. So if we look at here, we see the host name to be PAVM, and this is the IP address. This is the MAC. This is a net mask, and this is the default gateway. So with this, we can access the device via browser. So let me open another browser, and I put 10.0.0. Is it not 017? .117. It should be log me in. So it doesn't log me in. I thought you have the cache on my browser already. HTTPS : // Okay. So this is 10.0.0.17. Okay. Let me go back. HTTPS : / 10. Okay, I'll do a shortcut here. 117. Okay. So I get a IP now. So if you look at here, we see that there's a warning sign here. That is, this device is telling us that we have a valid certificate. So we can correct this by sync our certificate to this browser. So anytime we want to access this device, we won't get this option again. We can do that, but most of the environment, most of the production environment, they don't use this kind of browser. They have their own certificate and they install in their trusted browser. So anytime we browse, we will not be seeing this. And then if you want to check more about that, you just need to go here. So we see that there is your connection to the site is insecure. So if you click on this arrow again, it will give us more detail, but we can do this. We can resolve this issue by installing a device certificate on this browser. I will download it I will do a self-signed certificate from the firewall, install it on my system. Anytime it's going to this browser, this activity will not be populated. But this is not an issue, but anytime we say it, we just know that it is a certificate issue. So we click on Advanced tab, and then we click on Continue. So when we click on Continue, we'll get this beautiful GUI. So we supply our credential. My own is admin, and then I put the password 123 at 123. So I click on login. This is my own device. In this lab, it is version 11.2. Why I make use of that is to have access to some of the latest features of Palo, because there are some features that are supported in this particular code. So if you look at here, we see that the version is 10.2.0. We cannot go to an interview and they ask which version are you using in your environment. You say I'm using 11.2.0. That is wrong. This is the base version. This base version is for test. It's for proof of concept. It is not allowed to be deployed. It cannot be deployed in a production. It is majorly used for proof of concept. So we should know that you cannot use .0 in production. No. So if you look at here for the first time, maybe you are seeing this picture for the first time. This is the PaloAlto dashboard. This is a dashboard. With this dashboard, so many things can be done. We can tweak it to suit our need. If you look at here, we have a widget, like the way we have it in Fortinet. So if you come to this, you see application, we see system. If you want to see some of the interfaces, you just click here, and then the widget will pop up. So, and I can move it to wherever location I want. They are very, very nice to play around with. So this is just the dashboard. And then if we look at here as well, look at the system resources. For some of us who will be managing or troubleshooting this device, this is a very good starting point to check the X-Ys of the box, because anytime the system resources is increasing, we should know that something is odd is happening. So let me go to this before we move into another topic. So to get our session, we'll go to the tab called Monitor. So I'll click on Monitor tab, and then we can see that we have some information here already, but I don't want to go to session. I'll go to, from the log, click on traffic. So let's go back to our lab and initiate a traffic to the internet. So admin if So I want to go to this, my window user. I'll click on it. And then, oh, okay, once it opens, so yeah, I have some information open down already, but I'll close it and I'll try to go to like cisco.com. Cisco.com. Don't worry, I've already set up all this done. It has a rule, so we're going to touch base on all that later. So this is a cisco.com. So I'll go back to my firewall and refresh it. Let's see if you have the traffic going to that zone. But because of license issue and there is a VM, some of the traffic may not populate immediately. We may not see them immediately. So let's go to session browser. Okay. Okay, this is my, let's check our IP address for this so that we can use it to IP config. Or if config, IP config. I used to, I work on Linux every day. So you may see me typing if config. So we have 10.192.168.10.200. So let's go to here. We can filter by clicking on any one of these tab and then we modify it. So it says IP is what? It's .200. So we put 200 there. And then we can click on this arrow to filter it to see all the traffic going to that. And then if you look at here, we have this source IP going to this destination IPs. And then we see that we have a port 443. And then we have the application here, SSL, and all that. So the session is this. We go to the CLI to check it too, but we can check it from the GUI. If you click on this plus sign, there's a plus sign here. Once you click it, this window will pop up. When this window pop up, it will give us more visibility of what is going on in our network. If you see, it has flow 1, flow 2. Flow 1 from the client, flow 2 to the server. So it will be bidirectional. It gives us some of the IP of the source. This is when the traffic is now coming back on the other direction, it shows this. And then this traffic is NATed. That's why we see the destination is 150.1.2. So this kind of information, we can go to our firewall, log into the SSH into the device. Okay, we can run this command, show session, all. If you run this command, it will show us all the session in our session table, but there's a caveat. This command, don't try to run it in production. Just imagine we have only one user and then we have this kind of log. So if it is an environment where we have like 5 to 10 to 20 users, and then we run this command, it can bring the device down because it takes CPU level, consumption, performance level to populate every command. So it should be too much for big environments. So we shouldn't do that. So the only thing we can do is to highlight it to check. First of all, if you look at here, we see that we have different information here. We see the ID, we see the application. The same way we see the GUI, they are here too. And they said that the session is active. That's the state. Say it is active. We see the type of the flow. We see that we have source. We have NAT is translated. We have destination port. We have destination port. So if we look at this side, we see the source port and zone. So this is zone trust zone. The proto, that's the protocol number 6. And then we see it translated. This is how to know that the traffic is being translated. If you look at here, it said translated. It shows that it translated to this, and this is the destination IP, destination port, the zone, translated port, and the zone. The transition IP and the zone. So we can see all that information here. So we can just run, if you want to be specific, you can run this source session. We can pick any of these ID, like ID, we just need to put ID. And then the way we use Cisco device, anytime we are running some of this command and then we are run out or we don't want to guess, you can just press Control, Shift and question mark. It will show us some of the command we can input that is allowed. So if you look at here, we can run all, we can run cache, and then we can run the ID, or we can run the info. So these are the basic commands to troubleshoot. So now we type the ID, and then we need to select one of the IDs because the IDs is here. So if we select, for example, 917, and we click enter. So we can see the flow, the session ID 917 CSC2 flow, and then C to C. C2X is client to server flow, and then S to C is server to client flow. This is the session table. This is how stateful firewall behaves. They keep 2 flow in their session table. And then it gives it to give us more visibility when the packet is coming from, where the packet is transversing to. So having said that, any question before we move on to another small topic we just need to get aware of? Any question?
Yes, I have a little question, sir. When you mentioned about when you are being asked or when you are asked what version are you using, you said something about not mentioning .0 because that is for proof of concept and for testing.
Yeah.
So ordinarily, if you are using 10.0.2, that is what your answer should be, right?
Okay, for example, now let me use my own example for you. Right now in our production, we have 11.1.4.
Okay.
So if you ask me which one I'm using, I will say 11.1.4. But let us I say we are using 11.0.0. Somebody who is very knowledgeable in the environment know that this guy is not saying the truth or he doesn't know what he's saying.
Yes.
Because these are the base version. They are majorly used for test of concept, and then they are the base. For example, if you are doing a major upgrade, it is presumed that you must go to this base first before you continue your upgrade. But there's no, the best way to upgrade is to follow the vendor's upgradation path. It changes often, so it's not what you can memorize and go and do. No, we need to follow PaloAlto upgradation path, which changes often. So, but that is that. But in case we are asked, he cannot mention 2.0, like you said, it should be 10, 11, it can be 10.0 dot another version, because this other code is the hotfix. The last code is hotfix. The middle one is the major version.
The two should be the minor, right?
Yes, that is hotfix. Hotfix is the minor. It's just a minor.
Okay.
It's a patch. So, any question about from that? We get
That's
the
awesome.
Okay, no problem. So now, another thing before we go deeper is for us to know some of the platforms where on PaloAlto we have different platforms. Like I said before, we have VMs, we have hardware. So, but for us to get more visibility on that, we need to go to online and check PaloAlto products. PaloAlto products. Firewall catalogs. So product summary spreadsheet. Look, let me click on this and see. Select all resources. Let me check here. This is just a spreadsheet. It's just documentation. Okay, let's go back to this. Let me see if we can get. Okay, with this, we can have some visibility with some of the products, some of the different platforms. So if you are talking about platform, this is the hardware platforms. And then we have two major different type of firewall available in the market. It can be hardware, which is a physical device. It can be software, which is the virtual device. Most of the environment, they deploy the virtual devices in the cloud. We shouldn't forget, we mentioned something when we are doing virtualization, that we have different types of hypervisor. The same way in Palo, when they have their own VM, there's a particular KVM specific to them that can only work. So this one you are seeing in the lab, in this screen now, this is the hardware. This is a physical device, PA 75,000. Most of the time, where you can only see this in data center, it is not designed for small environment or mid-range environment. This is a big chassis that is designed majorly for production in data center. And if we look at here, we see that it has 440. This is 40 million. This is 440 million maximum session. Look at the connection per seconds. Look at the terabyte. So all this signifies the capacity of this beast. This is one of them. So we should try to come around and play with all these devices so that we can get used to it. Some of this, like this one, I've worked on this before, 3400, and some of the, no, I did not mention this specifically, but I've worked on 33, 34 series. And if you look at them, look at the capacity, this is 1,400,000 maximum session. What it means is the session that can be on this firewall per second are this. that will not bring it down. So if it's more than this, let's assume that we have it is huge in our presence, but this thing can spike, and then this firewall can come down if it is not basically designed for that kind of environment. That is why if we find ourselves should the capacity of designing a network, there are some factors we need to factor in from the get-go by knowing what to be the traffic pattern, what to be the capacity, what is the number of users. These are where these options comes on board. We cannot, because we can have maximum of 1,400,000 stuff, and then we come to this capacity. No, we can only use half of it if you want to maximize the box. So we have different type of it, but let me click on this to see more visibility on this. Okay, it didn't give us, let me click on here. Okay. It didn't give me, it didn't give us a picture, but you can get a picture even online if you want. Okay. It's not big enough the way I want it. But this is one of the devices. This is one of their products that is marketed, that is designed for mid-range environment. We can spend time online playing around with some of these products, but it's a good start to know what they have in stock. It's a good start, and then I urge all of us to spend time on it, and then the reward of making research on some of these things is huge, because not only how to configure directly counts, knowing some of the products, it matters as well. So we have different series. Look at, we have 54 series, we have 34 series, we have 200 series. I don't know, maybe they phase out 200 series, but they have 200 series before. They have 400, they have 800, and so on and so forth. But most of the 400 and 800, they are used for entry environment. That is small, where we have very small users environment. So maybe like a shop, like QT, they can decide to use entry-level firewall to protect their network. But when you talk about Amazon will not like to use that kind of stuff, because their traffic spike. It can go up, it can come down, and then they need a beast or a very high throughput devices to protect that. So that is that about that. So we should try to spend time checking some of these capability, and then we compare them, and then we learn from that. So the virtual VMs, we have virtual. If you, let me see if you can see the virtual here. Panels. Okay, I don't think they put their virtual here, but the virtual, we have VM50, like this one we are using now. If you look at here, we go to the dashboard. Because I don't have license for this, I have a device that have a license. Maybe we're going to use that one our next session. It will show the number of device, the name of the device here. So VM50, VM100 and up. They have 100, they have, when I was with Visor, we have 500 and 600. Those ones are panorama capability. So it depends the number. And then mind us, most of these devices, they cannot function without subscriptions, without license. And then tomorrow, when we'll be talking about how to deploy the device out of the box, we'll talk some of the steps we need to follow to unbox our firewall into production. So we've talked about the platforms, we have the hardware, we have the VMs, and then we talk about the panels. So tomorrow we'll be talking about some of the concepts specifically related to PaloAlto, like SP3, like management plane, data plane, and all that. So we shouldn't overboard ourselves today. Let's stop it here. This is 10:07. So if you have any question or comment based on what we've touched base, let's do that now.
Yeah, thank you. I think from today's session, I want guys, every one of us to pay attention to